Hi guys, I'd like to welcome you guys all back to my channel. Happy New Year! And with the new year, we have finally started posting on my new channel. So today's video is actually going to be me trying to wrap up all the books I didn't talk about last year. So that's about 14 books. In a grand total of things, I think I read about 40 books last year, which is the lowest amount of books I've read in a very long time. I'm not even going to front with you guys. Last year, I really tried to focus on my business and just dealing with life. So I didn't feel the need to pick up books, and I didn't feel guilty about not wanting to read. So I just let it happen. But I did read some good books that I do want to talk about, and I do want to just kind of kick off this channel with giving you guys a preview of how I read. The first book that I want to talk about is Maya and the Rising Dark by Rena Barron. This is the first book in her middle grade series. I really enjoyed this book, so I've really been enjoying middle grade fantasy a lot. Like, I think I've said that a bunch of times. Middle grade fantasy has really stepped up their game in terms of originality, in terms of, you know, giving a story. And I love it. This one focuses on Maya, and she has two friends, and her father is actually, oh, well, I won't reveal that, but basically she's learning who she is, and that has translated into her father going missing, and she needs to find her father. I thought it was really well done. Obviously, I'm a Rena Barron fan. I love her Kingdom of Soul series as well. So I was really happy that I finally sat down and read this series, and I do plan on continuing this series. I think the third book comes out this year, so I do need to finish all of that. So if this is your first time seeing a video from me, I like reading the Disney books. So the What If Disney books, where it's like, what if Beauty and the Beast like didn't sleep or something, you know, something like that. So I read Go the Distance by Jean Colanita, and the premise of this one is, what if Meg became a god? So it focuses on the Disney Hercules movie, and the story starts off right where it ended, but with a twist. And so for me, I liked the story that they created for Meg. One of the things that I have liked about some of the books in this series is the idea that they've expanded on certain ideas, or certain people have been given stories. Like Reflection, highly recommend you read Reflection if you haven't. It's one of my favorite ones of the series. Was it like top 10? No, but it was still like 1,000% better than the Snow White one and the Little Mermaid one. So like, that was a happy read for me. So for Naked for last year, I read Awaken the Dragon by A.C. Arthur. This book is actually the first book in a series, and yeah, it is fantasy romance. It involves people who can change into dragons. It involves vampires. All the fantastical things that you're thinking of. Yes, it involves that. I actually enjoyed it. It was one of those things where, because you guys know, well, again, I'm not a big fantasy reader, but because I'm a part of Black Prose Club, a lot of, well, the other host, Oshale, and Troy, like, they love romance. And so it happened to like spill into our audience, and our audience also really loves romance. So it has translated into hilariousness, honestly. And so we created a readathon called the Naked Readathon. It is an award-nominated readathon, by the way. And yeah, so I participate, and I read a couple of books. I don't read a lot, I read a couple. And I enjoyed this one. And I think I enjoyed it more because of the fantastical elements than the romance elements. But I'm trying, okay? I'm trying. Another middle grade that I was extremely happy with was Cece Rios and the Desert of Souls by Kayla Rivera. This book is focused on a young girl who lives in a town that is next to the desert, and this desert has demons and spirits, and her sister is kidnapped by a spirit. And so in order to find her sister, she has to train to be a bruja, which is technically illegal in her town, to get her sister back. And I thought this was such a cute, like, it was cute, but I was actually very captivated by the story. Again, like I said, middle grade fantasy has really been doing so good to me. So I'm actually trying to figure out when does the second book come out and all that stuff, because I want to know what happens next. I think that this was a very good story. If you do have kids that are middle grade age and they like reading fantasy, this is one that I think that they would enjoy. I love the friendship that she forms. I have a thing where I really enjoy books that are about sisters. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like twin sisters, but sisters with an age gap, just sisters in general, always just makes my heart feel all warm and fuzzy. The next book that I read is The Unbroken Rose by Christina C. Jones. It is another one of her Rose books. And like I said, I can't wait until the day where she writes a book about what the roses and thorns did while they were actually roses and thorns. And I also like the fact that these stories are focused on the different roses as they're trying to acclimate into regular life and be normal. So I do like that. This particular book hit a different note for me because she's trying to find herself and, you know, just be a better version of herself and stuff, right? But also she's dealing with like an ex-bae. And I found it really relatable. I guess is the best way to put it. Also, I love the way that Christina C. Jones writes her love interest because they always sound fine. Like they just, like even from the paper, they read off like they are like the finest pieces of chocolate men that have ever walked the planet. And I just really appreciate her attention to like the little small details about their blackness. And I would love to find one of Christina C. Jones's inspirations walking in the street. That's all I'm gonna say. The next book that I read is Hollywood Homicide by Kelly Garrett. It is a mystery book, which I know I don't usually bring those in. It is a mystery book about a C-list celebrity who's really down in the dumps. She's broke. She needs money. And she sees that there's a reward for information about a hit and run murder. And it turns into her trying to investigate that murder because she's trying to get the money. And it spirals into this whole situation. I recommend listening to this book via audiobook if you are an audiobook person. The narrator for this audiobook really brought the character to life, in my opinion. I felt her attitude. I felt her, like, the way that she described her friendships. It just felt like it could actually happen. Like, it was a girl, you know, just trying to make some coin, but ended up actually, like, going deeper into a murder mystery. No big deal. And I also enjoyed the different characters that Kelly wrote into this story. I do plan on reading the second book this year. It's just one of those things where I was like, I used to read a lot of mystery when I was younger. Like, I was a hardcore Agatha Christie fan back in the day. Like, I still have some of her books on my shelf. And just to, like, I guessed who the killer was and I was wrong. So I do like that part. I like the fact that there was a bit of unpredictability in the writing to where I really thought that I knew where the story was going and it went the other direction. So I was really happy with that. The group read for the Naked Readathon last year was Stiff, Heavy on the D by Stephanie Nicole Norris. And I will leave a link to that book discussion. If you guys want to check out Black Prose, I'll leave the link. But basically the premise of the story is there is a young woman. She is a business owner. Her friends think that she's like super uptight and like she needs to basically like loosen up. So they recommend that she goes to this exclusive club rather, and essentially she gets to pick her fantasy man, and she gets to have her entire world rocked. Is that the YouTube PC way of saying it? I don't know. I enjoyed this book more for the fact that I read it with friends. So, you know, not a big romance reader, but I will read it with my friends. And I was just laughing because I was like, is this place real? And then, like, if it's real, like, how do you find out about it if it's super secretive? And then, like, is this legal? But then also, like, I'm glad this girl is enjoying her whole life, if you know what I'm saying. Either way, I enjoyed the book. A lot of our book club members also really enjoyed the book, and some of them actually like read throughout the rest of the series. So if romance is up your alley, I think you might enjoy this one. The next book that I read was Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the third book in the Brown Sisters book series. And I will say that I actually read Talia Hibbert's book. I read the first one. I read Chloe's book first, and I really enjoyed her representation of Chloe's illness. And then in the second book, I had a couple issues with the smart girl having to make the decision between, you know, pursuing her dreams and finding a man. I didn't like that part, but I still enjoyed the story enough. But I will say with Eve Brown's book, I enjoyed the normalcy placed on Eve. And I don't know if this is a spoiler. So because I don't know if it's a spoiler, I won't say what was made normal, but it made me feel a little seen, I guess is the best way to put it. I related a lot to Eve's character. I related to Eve's mannerisms. I related to Eve's thought process very well. And so just to see it played out in a romance was really nice. It's kind of like one of those like hopeful things. Jacob was a delight. Like I was saying, I really enjoyed it. I think Talia Hibbert did a good job on these books. There were a couple of things that I did side eye, not gonna lie. I was like, dang, so they don't know any other black people is really what I was thinking, because there were no other black characters in their stories other than their family. But other than that, I'm like, this was cute. It worked for me. I enjoyed it. So while I was driving home to go see my mom and pick up some plants from her since she was moving, I rode with my friend Kara. Hi, Kara. And we decided to listen to Blackout. So Blackout is a collection of stories all focused around a blackout that happened in New York. So it tells the stories of multiple characters as they experience the blackout in New York. I thought the idea was creative. I went into this book with zero expectations. And so I've seen the videos and stuff of people saying that they weren't a really big fan of Blackout. It was a complete letdown for them. And I understand their point of views for that. But me personally, I just liked it. I thought it was really cute and whimsical. I wasn't going in it for anything major. I think that's what it was. I don't know. I listened to this book on a whim, and I hadn't really heard anything about it. So I really had zero expectations, but I have been enjoying the books where there are different black authors coming together and writing compilations and stuff. So I will still continue to do that. The second story is still my favorite story. I don't know. I agree with some of the, like, I'm trying to think, like Miss WOC Reader, a couple bookstagrammers wrote up writings why they didn't like Blackout. There are a couple people who didn't like it. Again, I'm one of those people who loved it. And I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, I would love to have watched this play out on TV. It would have played really well for a script of like a short series or a limited series on Netflix or something like that. I would have enjoyed to see this. The next book that I read is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. And I will say, Elizabeth Lim is one of my writers that I just enjoy her writing. I think the first Elizabeth Lim book I read was Reflection. The one where it's what if Mulan went to the underworld to save Shang's spirit. Yeah. But Six Crimson Cranes is based off of a story. It's mythology. And I love mythology. I love reading mythologies from all around the world. I just think they hold culture. They hold so much story to them. But I enjoyed Six Crimson Cranes a lot. So the premise of this story is that we have a young princess, her stepmother is a witch. She puts a curse on her and her brothers, the princes, where it turns the brothers into cranes during the day, and at night they're human. And then it turned her into having not being able to speak about it or tell people about it or anything like that. She was outcasted to like this faraway island, and she's just trying to find her brothers, but she can't speak. If she speaks, then her brothers will die. So it turns into this whole thing about them trying to save their father against their evil stepmother, and while also dealing with the fact that her brothers turn into freaking cranes. So again, I really like the story. The second one is coming out this year. Highly recommend it. I got this book, I think it was like my birthday last year. So when it arrived, it was definitely like a good surprise. Yeah, just, I liked it. That's all you need to know. I liked it. The next book that I read is Redemptor. This is one of the books. I read Raybearer. I think I read Raybearer during the frost of February 2021. Time does not mean the same thing anymore. But yeah, I read this book. I was kind of disappointed. I'm going to have to be very honest. I don't know how to say this without spoiling. So basically, this is a duology, which I love a duology because for some reason to me, they really know how to wrap up a story. But I felt the part of the book that this focused on was not what I thought it was going to be. And so I found myself kind of getting bored while I was reading and putting it down and doing something else. Whereas the first book, I could not put that book down. There was so much going on and I just wanted to know everything that was happening. And so I kind of had a different feeling with this book. I understand that Terasai experiences some growth in this book that she did not experience in the first book. And there are some things that, you know, they get revealed as time goes on. But I did feel like it took a while for me to, first of all, it took a while for me to get into it. And then it took a while for me to care. Because the premise of the book had me thinking it was going to be something different. And I just, like I said, I love the fact that it was creative. I will never take away Raybearer, this duology's creativity. But I was not the biggest fan of the sequel as much as I was the first book. I liked the way that it ended. It definitely gave me some insight. But again, like I said, I did find myself a little bored in the middle. I was group reading this with some friends, and we all kind of felt bored in the middle. But it did pick up, so there's also that. The next book that I read is Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. That was my first Rivers Solomon book. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. There's a lot to discuss in this book. And I read it as a list of books that me and a couple of friends chose to read so that we could talk about them together. So I don't have all of my thoughts yet. I will say when I first started reading the book, I didn't understand really what it was talking about. But it focuses on a woman who, in the beginning of the book, she gives birth to twins. And she's running away from her homeland, which is basically a cult. And I found it interesting because obviously it was a religious cult. But the reason that they became a religious cult is so interesting to me. And I don't want to say too much because it gives a lot of spoilers. So that Sorrowland might be a book that I actually just do a video where I'm just talking my thoughts out loud. Because I had a lot of thoughts and feelings about it. And I really liked the way that the book dove into some major topics. I'm trying to think. Were there any major... Yeah, no, I just enjoyed it. I think you should read it. You might like it. The next book that I read is The Bronzed Beast by Roshani Chokshi. This is the third and final book in the Gilded Wolves series. I will say, I enjoyed the Gilded Wolves series. It's not a book that I would have originally picked up if it wasn't for, I think I got that book in an owl crate like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, actually. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the historical aspect of it, the correlation to the Tower of Babel, and things like that. I enjoyed the idea that there are magical families that hold control of artifacts and stuff. I just really, really enjoyed it. I felt like the people that kept comparing it to like Six of Crows and something else, I don't know. I ain't never read Six of Crows, so I can't tell you if there is a correlation to that or not. But I think that this series should be allowed to stand on its own without being compared to any of those. And for me, Bronze Beast gave me a different type of closure. Because sometimes with books like this, they like give you an ending, but you're kind of dying to know like how the characters fared after everything that happens to them. Well, in this book, everything happens to them, and then I also get the benefit of learning about what they do after everything happens. So I just found the closure very pleasing, and I don't feel like I want more from the series. I don't feel like I need a novella. I don't feel like I need anything. I felt like Roshani really gave me everything in the 3 books, and I just feel very content after reading it. The final book that I want to talk about, well, there's technically 2. So the book club's final book of the year, hold on. The book club's final book of the year is Warmth and Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. It is a chunker. It is basically focusing on the Great Migration of Black people from the South to other parts of the United States, starting from like the Civil War, you know, as the years progress. And it focuses on multiple stories. So you get multiple accounts of migration, reasons why they migrated, showing what happened between slavery, sharecroppers, you know, and then like giving birth to children who have no relationship to slavery, but still dealing with all the after effects of white people trying to hold on to their power, the creation of Jim Crow laws, what was happening to young men and women, the first HBCUs, you know, like there is a lot of history in this book. I will say though, this book is extremely heavy. So I did have to take a lot of breaks because there are certain scenes where they describe the hatred and persecution that they had to endure just for being Black, that are just horrific. Left my jaw dropping a couple of times because these are stories told from accounts. Like she interviewed real people who were a part of the migration. So as they're recounting their stories from their childhood, they're horrific. So I will say that there is some racial violence that you should take into account. Like I said, this is focusing on the Great Migration of Black people. There are mentions of other nationalities and stuff, but they're mentioned in reference to how they treated Black people. So again, I think this is a really good book. If you are interested in learning more and expanding more about our history, this is a very good book. They also have an audiobook, and I found the audiobook to be a little easier to digest some of the information with certain stories. So they're broken up into stories, and they tell the growth of one character, but like it's the same time period, just different people in different places. But again, I really think this is a must read. It's just really heavy, so keep that in mind. So the next book was Darkdawn by Jay Kristoff. I realized I never finished the series, and I have the whole book sitting on my shelf over there, so I finished it. I love the bloody, gory reading. So that's the mood that I was in for most of the end of last year. I have a couple other books that I'm currently reading right now. They're nothing but blood and gore. So my question to you is, what books are you currently reading right now? What is a book that you're currently reading right now that you're like super excited about? I think by the time you guys see this video, Goliath would have come out or a Kata woman would have come out. And I'm letting you know I'm buying both of them. I didn't even know we were getting a Kata woman, and I'm obsessed. Like, I am actually going to re-listen to a Kata witch and a Kata warrior, and then read a Kata woman. Oh, I'm so excited. And then Goliath. Tochi, y'all know I'm a Tochi stan. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming back, checking out my channel. Until next week, guys. Bye.